Hello and welcome to Firstpost. This is our weekly show Beyond Bizarre, where we bring you the most odd, offbeat and outlandish stories that made it through the week. Here is our first one. Humans are extremely dramatic. Every time we're frustrated, we make it known. We groan, moan and whine. But it turns out humans aren't the only ones. Plants do this too. Plants have been known to cry. There's a new report. Here is our story on this.
It seems like Roald Dahl was right. If you hurt a plant, they scream. Well, mostly. It's nothing like our angry mumble when someone eats the last slice of pizza. But plants have their own way of showing stress and frustration. They make a popping noise. It comes from tubes inside plants. Tiny bubbles burst inside them and produce mini shock waves, kind of like what happens when we crack our knuckles. We can't detect these plant sounds with our ears alone. And this is not the only way plants show stress. Frankly, they are quite dramatic. They release powerful aromas and even change their color and shape. These changes can thankfully be detected by humans. So did you know that their plant neighbors also notice this? These changes signal danger to them. So they boost their own defenses. Even attract animals so they can deal with pests that may be harming the plant. And most importantly, they can start screaming too. These sounds are correlated with the kind of bad day that plants are having, like if they are dehydrated or have had their body parts chopped off. And these noises can be heard many feet away. The question is, how do we learn to listen to our plants? After all, plants are the new pets. And we do care. Unfortunately, if you aren't a fancy scientist, you can't. Yet, but not to worry, research is still underway. And for now, all we can do is live with the reality of screaming plants. And the fact that we know this now. So next time you're mowing your lawn, remember that thousands of tiny grass leaves are screaming for that piece of information. Sorry, not sorry.
China has a lot of problems. You already know this. Now it has a strange new one. Racist ice cream. We're not making this up. It's a combination of Chinese locals, the German car maker BMW, and ice-cold racism. Here's our report. They say ice cream solves everything, but now it's behind an online war. China is mad at BMW, that's a German automaker, and it's been accused of discrimination. Ice cream racism to be specific. Sure, racism plagues the world, but when did matters get so bad? Ice cream is seen as a unifier, something that brings people together, but now it's behind a divide? Confusing, right? So let's start from the beginning. BMW owns a UK-based car maker called Mini. They held an auto show at Shanghai recently. Lots of cars, jovial crowd, bright lights, but soon the ice cream wars began. Mini allegedly handed out free ice cream to Westerners only, while ignoring local guests. And there is video proof. It shows workers telling local visitors that the dessert had finished, then offering it to a Western visitor moments later. So obviously they're being rebuked on social media. And BMW's response? They have apologized, but also blamed mismanagement on the workers, saying that staff training was inadequate. Trust them to take the route of convenience. But it's not cutting it for the Chinese locals. The videos have gone viral, and it seems even ice cream can't solve this anger. Do you want to get your ex's partner killed? Do you hate your boss enough to get them shot? Now look, we aren't advocating murder, but other people seem to be. There are requests like this all over the internet, and people are actually taking them up. And they're getting arrested for it. Here's our next report. You've heard about this place called the internet, right? The great unregulated mass, an experiment on humanity, and maybe the greatest experiment ever. We're sure you're aware. And sometimes things go completely haywire. Like when one tries to order a murder. On a certain website, you can commission a murder for $5,000. On another, it'll cost you $2,000. But remember, death by torture will cost you much more, about $50,000. And that's a hefty sum. But the task is hefty too. After all, you're hiring a hitman. But easy there, Tiger. A murder may not be clicks away. In fact, some jail time might be. Especially if you're applying for a hit job. Here's a fresh example for you. Have you heard of this website called Rent a Hitman? It has a bunch of hitman job profiles, and you can apply on it. So, a US Air National Guardsman did, and soon he was arrested, because it's a parody website. So if anyone applies on it, they are reported to the cops. But all websites don't function with such good humor. Have you heard of a vicious creature that resides on the internet, called the dark web? It uses a specific technology. It allows both sides of an online transaction to hide their identity, so they can hide from law enforcement. Regardless, you can hire a hitman on such websites, but don't expect someone to get the job done, because experts and law enforcers have long studied these sites, and they say most of these so-called dark websites are scams. There hasn't been any murder attributed to them, and if you're applying to be a hitman, maybe look elsewhere, because you may be running out of job opportunities. That's it for this week's edition of Beyond Bazaar. We'll be back next week with stories that are anything but basic.